Good evening. It's the 3rd of February 2025. Do you like reading? I do. Do you like reading crime fiction and detection? Are you a fan of that? I am. I do like casting my eye and coming across local writers as well. And this is a guy, Freeman Wills Crofts. His father had the same name, and Freeman Wills Crofts was born in Dublin, but he spent his childhood and young adulthood up in Gilford because his father was killed in active service as in the medical corps, and his mother found a second husband who was a vicar in Gilford. So the young Freeman Crofts, Wills Croft, went to the local primary school in Gilford and then moved on to Methodist College, Belfast, and then moved on to Campbell College in Belfast. He didn't pursue academia, but became an apprentice railway engineer. And these are some of his later writings. The Ponson case, the Cask, the Sea Mystery, the Grout Park murder, Pit Prop Syndicate, Inspector French's Greatest Case, and if others had their Poirot and others had their Sherlock Holmes, Wills Croft had his Inspector French. And we've got further ones. There's the Cask, and there's the Ponson case again. Inspector French's Greatest Case. Inspector French and the Shane Mystery. And it just goes on and on, because this guy was a prolific writer. He's probably the greatest crime writer from County Down, or who spent a considerable part of his life in County Down, that you've never heard of. And here's the man himself. And here's what classic crime fiction says about him. He was born in 1879 and lived to 1957. Freeman Wills Crofts is regarded amongst collectors as a leading light of the golden age of crime fiction, although he probably remains anonymous to a new generation of readers, unlike Christie and Sayers et al. This is a shame, as Crofts was a key pioneer of the genre. In fact, his main series character, Inspector French, is widely credited as being the first series police officer to feature as a main investigative character. And certainly there was Poirot and others like that. But Poirot was a retired policeman, and he was acted as a consultant. Here we have Inspector French, who was an acting police officer, being the main investigative character. So this was almost a first for this happening. Crofts was born in 1879 in Ireland, the son of a British Army doctor. Had a religious upbringing and education, went on to become a railway engineer, a job he stuck with for most of his working life. But it wasn't until recovering from a serious illness in 1919 that he started to dip his toe his into writing crime fiction. I think he had to take a year off work, so he started to write crime novels. The result was his first novel, and arguably his best novel. It's called The Cask, and it was published in 1920 by Collins, and it was an immediate success at home and abroad, and still is an important landmark book. Croft's background in railways and engineering frequently emerges, too frequently for some, throughout his books. So he delves into railway timetables and such like. His greatest strength, and also possibly his greatest weakness, depending on your point of view, was that he wrote an awful lot of his crime novels with railways as the backdrop. His books are well plotted and perfectly capture the mood and essence of the period. In fact, Inspector French did not make his first appearance until Croft's fifth book, Inspector French's Greatest Cases. It was published in 1925 by Collins and saw the beginning of a 30-year run during which Crofts delivered a French novel every year. So, as I say, he was a prolific writer. Following another bout of illness, Crofts passed away in 1957, shortly after his final novel, Anything to Declare, was published by Hodder and Stoughton. Whilst Croft may not be the greatest literary exponent of crime fiction, he was and remains an important and influential figure in the development of crime fiction as we know it today. So there's the man himself. And he's gone, but not forgotten. Any other wee tidbits of information I might throw at you here? Well, the number of books that he had published was quite extraordinary. Between 1920 and his death in 1957, Crofts published roughly a book a year, and in total had 34 novels, 3 short story collections, 2 stage plays, 1 radio play, and 2 works of non-fiction published in his own name. That's some volume of work. He was a founder member of the Detection Club, and look at who was in that, which counted such luminaries as Agatha Christie, Dorothy L. Sayers and G.K. Chesterton amongst its members. And that club still exists today. And he obviously was very highly respected amongst his crime writing peers. Dorothy L. Sayers says about him that he was one of the most honest craftsmen in existence. Maybe he was a wee bit humdrum, and his characters were a wee bit normal and ordinary, but he was a good writer. His main character, Inspector French, doesn't reach his sound conclusions by brilliant intuition. Instead, when he gets his information, or gets the information, he swats over it until he grinds out some sort of theory to account for the facts. In 1929, at the age of 50, Crofts was doing so well in selling his crime fiction novels that he decided to retire from engineering, railway engineering, and he and his wife moved from Northern Ireland to Blackheath near Gilford in Surrey. And he became a full-time writer then. It's interesting that about that time, he is credited as being one of the first authors to tell the story of a murder from the point of view of the murderer. Now, this had been tackled before by Agatha Christie in The Murder of Roger Ackroyd and Dorothy L. Sayers, the document in the case. But Crofts wrote it in such a way, especially in the 1230 from Croydon in 1934, he wrote it in such a way that the reader was almost persuaded to sympathise with the protagonist. So this was something new. Because he was the son of the rectory and in County Down, many of his crime fiction novels had a strong moral overtone. As I say, he is gone, but not forgotten. Coming from Gilford, County Down.